Good morning, all of you. So we will wait for a minute to others to join and we'll start our session. So one thing, as the LMS server is not working, so for today's attendance, just write your roll number and name in chat box. Yeah, it's clear. So there will be no QR code uh, for today's attendance. So you have to write your and roll number and name in the chat box. Fine. Yeah, in the previous class, if you are remember, so we are discussing about MFC, which is called Microsoft Foundation class. So Microsoft Foundation class is nothing but it consists of different library files that are supported for Windows programming in Visual C++. Okay, or that's what we can say. It consists of large amount of predefined functions or Windows API, okay, Win APIs, so that will be helpful while designing a Windows for desktop mode. So on that we have discussed basically before discussing the Microsoft Foundation class. So we have discussed something about user interface. So we already know two types, which is text mode or command mode and console mode. The second one is graphical user interface. Then we see the different attributes that are present in Windows. So sometimes they ask in short answer questions. This thing like what you mean by menu bar, what you mean by scroll bar, what you mean by icon. So that thing you can write, I think. This is not big issue. So basically they will not ask in long type questions. So if they will ask the questions, then the question will be related in a short type questions. Okay, so this is an example where we can explain it. So next is your something called provide. So we have seen why we need a MFC or Microsoft Foundation class because your standard ANSYS C++ does not able to or it is not provide capable to create graphical user interface for Windows program. So that is the reason we will want for the what Microsoft Foundation class or Microsoft library document. So this is a site which is available. From this site you can easily install. Okay, so here the link. So next we have discussed something about what we mean by MFC. Okay, and what are these application frame available. Okay, so basically it is used for different purposes that we have discussed, like managing Windows, managing your menu and dialog boxes, performing basic input and output functions, and storing the collection of data objects. Next. So next we discuss what are the framework, what is MFC framework and what are the features provided. So MFC framework basically it is a set of reusable classes, okay, that is designed for simply Windows programming. Then MFC provide the classes of many basic objects. Okay. So now the classes can be for strings, file, and uh, whatever we are using in our day-to-day programming. So all the different classes are basically present in your Windows MFC. Okay. So next application that is provided Windows framework is providing classes for common Windows API. Now this is important. Okay, all the Windows API to which the user will provide the user interface are provided in Windows framework. Okay, and it can also allow different data structure that are used in Windows controlling and Windows devices. Fine. Next, this is an advanced concept where you provide the features of ActiveX and for documentation. Okay, along with that, this also provide OLE, object listing embedded. Okay, feature of OLE also is provided by MFC. So where we build direct objects can be embedded, okay, linked to embedded for the Windows program. Okay, that means now I can directly interact with the different objects with the application. Okay. Now previously what we did, we are interacting with some toolbars, menu bars like that. But in OLE, you can directly interact with the objects. Okay. And finally, MFC provides application framework that include the classes that make application architecture hierarchy. So whatever application that you have, it can be provided in hierarchical manner. That means inherent property of C++ can be used here to use the applications where the classes are dependent on each other. Okay. So basically, how you can say it provides the hierarchy structure. Architecture will be hierarchy structure. Fine. Okay. So let's move to the next slide. So now the question comes, why yeah. So now next question rises is why we have to use the MFC? Why we need MFC? Why not any other framework can be used? Okay. So these are the following some advantages about for the MFC. Now this question is asked many times to see your previous question papers. So we ask what is the MFC and what are its framework and what are the advantages of an MFC framework. Right. So you have to define what is MFC, then what are the framework application that is provided by the MFC, then what are the advantages of MFC over other classes, okay, or other library frameworks that will be available. Right. So let us see one by one what are the advantages we are having. So first advantage is it is shortened development time. So what it says, so as we are using the Visual C++ mode and most of the classes are predefined, along with that we are using active text features and OLE. So what will happen, the time requirement for development of any application, any Windows application can be shortened. So what happened, so what happened here actually, the user will directly interact with the different objects, and the coding part of that object is already written. So user is not required to write the code again and again. Okay. So what happened? So we are basically suppose I want to open an icon. So for opening an icon, the class is already defined inside the MFC. So what happened? So I can directly call this function from MFC and execute it. So it will reduce the development time for coding, so that it will reduce the overall development time for an application. Fine. Second advantage is it makes a code more portable. Portable means now it can be used in any of the platforms. Okay. So if you are using some operating system, some hardware architecture, now same code or same applications can be executed in different operating systems and different architecture. So that is the reason this is portable. So it can be moved that Windows application from one platform to the another platform, which is known as make a code more portable. Okay. And third one is it provides recommended support without reducing the programming freedom and flexibility. So some of may get the doubt that sir, whether it is providing so many features, so does it reduce the freedom and flexibility for the user? So that we are having in C++, answer C++. Okay, so answer is no here, because so or we can say that features are increased here. So reducing the features are increased here. Okay, and basically for the user point of view, it provides more freedoms in programming as well as in the flexibility. Okay, flexibility user can easily uses the MFC program. Fine. So I hope it's clear. This thing. Yeah, very down. So again, I'm repeating those who are not given the attendance, so we can write their name here in the chat box. So I can see many of you have done. So still those who are not written, kindly write your name and roll number. So as you know, our LMS server is not working due to some power issue. Just write your roll number, or even I will take a screenshot of your attendance so that you can cross-check. Now the next point for the fourth advantages. So it gives easy access to hardware programs. Okay. So what do you mean hardware program? That program that directly interacts with the hardware is not hardware program. Okay. So what happened here in case of Windows programming using MFC? So you can easily access the hardware. Okay. So what is the reason? Because the interface, user interface element and technology that we are used to communicate is much advanced, right? Because as we are developing a GRU mode, okay, so you already know all Windows programs are in GRU mode. Okay, so whatever application is developed, okay, the user interface will be in GRU mode, and whatever technology that we are having, it will be directly effective communication with the hardware. That's the reason we say it gives easy it gives easy access for the hardware program, or in general we can say Windows programming with MFC will easily access the hardware. Okay, and the fifth one, advantages is MFC simplified database programming through data access object. Okay, so as we know, every applications are linked with some type of database. Now here the database programming is much simpler. So what is the reason? Because of data access object. Okay, we say DAO and open data connectivity ODBC. These are the two features which make the user to simplify the database programming. Okay, and as well as the network programming through the Windows socket. Okay, so basically here it provides two features. One for it will make simplify the database programming. Okay, make simplify database programming. How it is possible? It is possible through the data access objects. Okay, now what happened here? So data are accessed with the help of object, which is known as data access object. Okay, different objects are created. So based on these objects, we are now going to access the database. So it will be much simpler instead of storing the data in the form of text and numeric format. Okay, so if you store the data or if you try to access the data in the form or database, which is in the form, what I can say, if it is in text or numeric format, that is very difficult to access the data, basically to maintain the redundancy and consistency problem in data. But this is very much simpler if, in case of MFC because of two features. One is data object and second one is open database connectivity. Now you can easily connect your what we can say your front-end applications, that is user program, with your back-end database. Okay. Along with the second application, which is for network programming. Now network programming can also be simplified. Okay, so whatever application designed for network programming will also be simplified with the help of Windows socket programming. So we have predefined classes for the Windows socket programming. So most of the time we are not required to write the entire program. Okay, for example, suppose I want to communicate between server and client, so I have to just run the server function as well as client function. Then it will automatically establish the connection between the server and client. The next part you can write whatever message or whatever data you want to transfer between them. You can write for that. Clear? So these are some advantages of MFC over other frameworks, or I can say basic and C++ for Windows programming development. Is it clear? Is it okay with all of you? Yes. So any doubt regarding these points? Okay. If you are not saying anything, so I will assume that you understand this topic. erase these things. Okay, so so much late. Okay, let's continue our discussion. Next is user interaction. Okay, so how the user is going to interact. Again, in the previous slide, we already discussed the user interact with the GIU, graphic user interface, with the help of some messages. So we write some messages, and that messages will communicate. And when the GUI event occur, okay, now as we know, all Windows programming is event-driven program. I already explained this. What is the difference between event-driven program and other programming language or other structural or object-driven programming language? So there is slight difference. Okay, so let me explain once again. Event-driven programming is, that means the action will be performed based on certain event, and your Windows programming is one of the what? Event-driven program, where the events are given in terms of messages. Okay, so I will provide the events in terms of messages, okay, to GIU. Then based on that, the GIU event occurs, then the OS send the message to the program. Okay, so basically what happened, so I will have a GIU Windows here. Okay, so this is Windows application. For suppose there is a form which is there to write your name and roll number. So suppose, let us take this example. Suppose there is a Windows for attendance. Okay, for attendance. So I have two forms here. Okay, so I will design a form which having the two input button or text box, I can say, not input button. So I can say text box. So what we have to do now, and there is a button called OK button in the just below. I am having OK button. So once the input is provided, so I have to perform certain events. So how it is interacting, how it is user interacting. Now user will be provide some message. Now message will be here your name and your number. Okay. Now what actually happening? The user will interact with the help of message. किससे interact करेगा? It will interact with the graphical user interface. Okay. The user is interacting with the message format with the graphical user interface. Now, when the graphical user interface event is occurred, okay, now what happened? Now, once you enter your roll number and name, now you have to process for the event. Now, I will click on OK button. Now, this is the event. What is the event here? Now, event is created. Now, event is created. Mark my attendance as my name and roll number. So, once the event is created, okay, now that event will communicate or send a message to the OS. Okay, or I can say the program or this application will send a message to the OS which will directly interact with the hardware. That means it will interact with the database where I have to update. So is it clear? I hope so. Is it clear how basically user will interact? Okay. Clear to all of you? Whether the recording is on. Is it clear how user is basically interacting? So user is basically interacting with the help of message. Okay, and the event is created. When the event is created, it will give some instruction to the OS. The OS will communicate with the hardware. Fine. So next point, which is the programming, the function that respond to these messages are called event-driven programming. So this type of interaction or this type of programming mode basically known as event-driven programming. Now, this is a very important question relevant to your visual programming. So every time this question is asked in the previous papers, so go through, try to clearly explain what is event-driven programming. So if this question is asked, so explain with the help of some suitable example. Okay, if you explain with a suitable example, now it will give clarity to the examiner what you want to explain. Fine. First of all, you should write the definition and how it is different from other programming languages. But I suggest, along with that, uh, explain with a real-time example how the events are created. Now, once the events are created, how these events are interacting with the OS. Then finally, OS are interacting with the hardware. Okay. Now you can see the messages can be generated by the user action. Okay, as I said, and other applications are generated by the OS. Okay, only the message that we have to input. Okay, or you can say how the user will interact. That is given by the user, and rest of the thing is managed by the operating system. Fine, it's clear. I hope so. What is my user interaction? Yeah, is it clear? Yes, is it clear? People are not responding again. Okay, so not response. So same. I will assume you that already understand. You understand. So we will not waste our time here. Here. Let me take the shot so that I can update when the LMS is resolved this issue, internet issue, or power issue. Again, I do request to all of you to install the Visual C++. So, as the subject does not have the practical session, okay, and this is completely a programming language, so you may all be aware of if there is no practical session or hands-on in this subject, then the concept may not be clear. Okay, so I will try to take some of the hands-on session or practical sessions. Okay, so where we will implement the some Windows programming or Visual C++ programming for the Windows application. So at that time, I request to install all to that. So at that time, so we can parallelly perform the program. Okay, because if I have explained in my laptop and after some date, you will forget. Okay, if you want to implement in your laptop, then you will get clear procedure how they are usually implemented. Fine. So I think there is no doubt. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is one example where you can say the difference between uh, console event programming, okay, and the event-driven programming. Fine. So this example explains the difference between the console of this programming and the Windows event programming. What happened actually here? The GUI program have a fundamental difference between structure than console-based program. Okay. So how the console program are basically looks like. Okay. So this is the console program. If I try to write the console program, so what are the my instructions should be? So first I have to ask the user for some input, right? So if I created that, I will ask some input from the user. Then after getting the input, what I will do, I will perform some processing, okay, or I will do some processing. So after the processing is completed, so I will display whatever output that is that we are get from the processing. That means we will print the output on your display. Then what will ask for then some input. If there is some more query or some more input, the user will be given, and the process will continue again. This suppose a number this says 1, 2, 3, and 4. This process will continue. Okay, this process will continue. Still, the user will give the input. Fine. So this is a basic example of console-based programming. Okay, where this some following standard steps should be followed. So what happened actually then? The application program control the input and output will happen. So in this type of programming language, what happened? So whatever the application programmer, okay, whatever the application programmer is there who are developing the application, now he is going to control the output based on what input you have provided. So here, what happens? So whatever step or instruction you have written, okay, the application programmer is only responsible to control the output based on the different input. Okay, the GUI program model. So if it is a GUI program model, then the user is a controller. Fine. If you are designing for the GUI control model, then I can say who is a controller. In this case, the user which is using the GUI mode is a controller. Fine. So, okay. So here, so let us see then how event-driven programming are different from this. Okay. For the event-driven programming can be different. Fine. Now we can see the event-driven programming definition here. Now what happened here? In the event-driven programming, a structured GUI program is responded to the user events. Okay, now I will create structure GUI program. Okay, set of instructions in the form of structure that is being given as a user events or user input. Now this event are basically can be a clicking of mouse or moving a mouse or hitting a keystrokes of the keyboard. Okay, so these are the particular events that can be given in the form of GUI mode. So what happened actually? Now we will see the structure. Now there will be a main control structure in an event loop. Okay, so when still the condition is true, the program, like I said, the event-driven program will continue. Here you can see that we are using a condition loop here. While one, that means still this is true, still this is true. So I will wait for the next event. Now, one thing here, event-driven programming, the event should be synchronized. That means one event is performing is processing, we cannot run another event. Okay, then if it is so, then there will be inconsistency in data, and there will be issues of synchronization. Okay. So that is the reason. Wait for the next event. So you will wait for the next event. That once the event we get, okay, once we get the event, so what will happen? It will dispatch the event to the correct GUI component. The component, therefore, to the Windows application interface here, or you can say the library files or the library files which is present in MFC, okay, that is responsible for processing that particular event. Right? Now this process will continue. Since as a while loop, this process I will repeat till we are getting a new events. Okay, new events from user point of view, or as the user events are created, this process will be continued. Now what happens? This code will always be same. What is important thing to be noted here? The code will always same. So it's handled by the MFC. Okay. Now this set of codes will always same because now I have to perform give certain input as an event. Now based on this event, the GUI component will access the MFC file. Okay. So that's the reason this type of event-driven programming are handled by MFC. Okay, which is nothing but your Microsoft fundamental class. Okay, so next is the write the code to response event. So you have to write the code to response event. So every event there is a code. Okay, so whatever event you create, now every event there will be a code, so which is written in your Visual C++. Right. Yes, so whatever event you create, there should be a code for that event, which is basically written in C++. And the function to do this are called message handler in MFC. Okay, fine. So MFC consists of large number of message or functions. Okay. So that particular function that is responsible for to execute that particular events. So that such things or such functions are basically known as message handler in a Microsoft Foundation class. So sometimes they ask this question for short notes. What do you understand by? Okay. So what do you understand by message handler in MFC? So what is the answer here? Yes, anyone? What is the answer? Answer will be what is the answer here? Answer will be the set of functions which are basically responsible for what? They are basically responsible for uh, handling the processing of event. So these functions are called message handler in case of uh, MFC. Fine. So to understand what the function, how the function event programming, also sorry, how the event programming are different from your console or structured programming language. Fine. So stop here. Today's class will stop here. So as there is a new topic we will discuss. It will take time is running out. So we will start tomorrow. Tomorrow we have two classes continuous. So there will be try to complete this topic. Okay. So once again, those who are not, let's join the session. Okay. Those who are late join, so kindly give your attendance in the chat box where you have to write your name and phone number. So I can update later on when the issues are resolved, power issues are resolved. And regularly I'm sharing the slides in your LMS portal. So you may access that one. Okay, no slides, as well as there is a YouTube channel for the subject. If you have any doubts, you can go to the videos where you can again see the lectures. Okay, but still you are having any doubts, so you can contact me if any of them either message me, okay, or you can call me. Okay, there is no issues. Fine. So, but the timing should be something like college hours, not should not call at late nights, right? Or you can text me anytime. Okay, if you're having any doubt regarding this subject, fine, you can text me. So I will resolve your queries there. Okay. So hopefully you understand the today's class, which is significance of. Basically, we discuss what is the advantage of MFC. Then we discuss how the user is interacting. Then two types of different programming, basically event-driven programming. Then how event-driven programming are different from console programming. This concludes today's lecture. So, okay, then if you have no doubt, so shall we stop here? So shall we stop our class here? Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you for your participation. So do keep your attendance. Fine. Thank you.